You know, again, I think the idea of wilderness is so appealing because people believe it's going to preserve the open space. But open space and wilderness are not the same thing. I mean, as someone who rides horses, open space is critical because if I don't have open space, then I'm pretty limited on where I can ride. But the movement behind wilderness is not about protecting the land for people and for recreation. It's about protecting the land for the land itself. And many of these organizations that are promoting wilderness are very anti-livestock, and they're also anti-horseback riding. And we've been told about areas in other wilderness areas in other states where it's even so extreme as you have to pack out any manure that you pack in. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's a huge concern.
Well, I call that the sky is falling, because, you know, when they say protect it now, my first question is, protect it from what? Already today, thousands of people come into the Las Cruces area to enjoy the mechanized recreation that is here. And every year, 1,000 people just come to the Chili Challenge that you just asked about. And these people come not only from all over the country, but we've had people fly in from France, from Italy, they come in from Mexico. It's literally an international event, and it brings thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into the local economy. And then throughout the rest of the year, hundreds, if not thousands of other people make Las Cruces their vacation destination to enjoy the mechanized recreation that this area has to offer.
I think there's a lot of new people that are moving into this part of the country, and that's why they're coming out here. That's why they want to move out here, because they want to have more access to public lands. They definitely want to explore. Gosh, the weather here is phenomenal for outside activities, and I think by limiting our access, that's just going to prevent the majority of the people to utilize these lands.
I think there's a perception out there that the only way to protect open space is through a wilderness designation by the federal government. And that just simply is a gross misrepresentation of the truth. There are a host of legislative and administrative alternatives out there that we can use to appropriately protect this area from the threats that exist. If people are concerned about development, then we can address that.
The thing to remember is the ranchers are for protecting these areas too. And there's ways to do it other than wilderness designation. There are ways that we can protect open space, we can protect the Oregon Mountains, we can protect the viewshed to the Oregon Mountains without designating them wilderness. If our main concern is development, we simply withdraw the land from sale and disposal. The lands could never be sold, they could never be exchanged. They would remain in federal hands in perpetuity and therefore protected. If we think mining is a concern or oil and gas production is a concern, we simply withdraw them from the Mining Act and we withdraw them from the Mineral Leasing Act. So there are ways that you can protect these lands without doing harm to the other users of the public lands and still allowing the public to have access and the ability to enjoy these public lands.
You know, the rancher group is not in favor of anybody losing any rights through wilderness designations. We want the public to continue to have access, and of course we have to have access to operate. And we think that that's what is at stake, and our investments out there are at stake. If we can't operate, then we can't make our livings like we usually do. We can't sell the ranch or anything else.
Too often people are saying, well, let's go with the most votes. We got more people saying this than that. Our Constitution was set up to protect the powerless and the innocent. And when we begin to use multiple votes to overcome private property rights, it's a big mistake.
We need ranchers on this ground, not just for the production of livestock, but for the preservation of open space in the West.
Let's not lock it up to such an extent that nobody can go on it to do anything in the name of protecting it. That's just ludicrous. It's just not smart.
There is clearly a lot at stake in this debate over wilderness. The groups that are advocating hundreds of thousands of acres of federal wilderness have nothing to lose. The ranchers, the off-roaders, the hunters, the recreationalists, they have a lot to lose, including their businesses and their way of life. It's established that these areas proposed for wilderness don't even come close to meeting the criteria for a federal wilderness area. Wilderness is a threat to our border security. Wilderness has many flood control ramifications. There are also firefighting and fire prevention concerns. And it's also established that there are viable alternatives to withdraw this land without the heavy hand of the federal wilderness coming down on the people who actually live and work in these areas. In other words, you don't need a sledgehammer to tune a piano. What we do need is common sense and a vision for the future that is not wrapped up in the political agendas of a few. People for Preserving Our Western Heritage and the New Mexico Farm and Livestock Bureau ask you to consider the facts in order to preserve our future.